Welcome to a new session on pedagogic practices in natural science. General aims of teaching natural science. Rationale for teaching natural science. Let us begin with what natural science means. Natural science is a fusion of the major branches of science. In its broadest meaning, the term natural sciences encompass those branches of science that seeks to explain the set of laws that rule the natural world through scientific methods. Natural sciences distinguish from the formal sciences such as mathematics that study the properties of theoretical and abstract models through deductive methods. Natural sciences distinguish from social sciences too, in that the latter seek to construct simplified quantitative rules governing complex human behavior and social patterns by applying scientific methods. Natural sciences distinguish from the humanities, which critically analyze different artifacts of human culture. Biology is one of the 5 major branches of natural sciences, others being chemistry, astronomy, earth science and physics. Despite the distinction between them, social sciences and natural sciences do overlap. One good example of this interrelation among social and natural approach to understanding the world is environmental science. Environmental science studies the interactions of physical, chemical, geological and biological components of environment, with a focus on the effect of human activities and the impact on biodiversity and sustainability, drawing on the ideas and methods of social sciences such as economics, law and social sciences. Hence, from the perspective of a biology teacher, natural science means biological sciences that include a set of disciplines that study phenomena related to living organisms. Subject matter of biology ranges from microbiology to ecology. By the 19th century, biology became a unified science that studies characteristics, classification and behavior of organisms, as well as how species were formed and their interaction with each other and the environment. Then, why shall there be any science education in schools? Teaching sciences in schools is fundamental to the relationship between science and society. Science affects every aspect of individual and social life. It affects food we eat, cloth we wear, work we do, games children play, problems and solutions we think of, how well human beings feel of life. Science shapes quality and quantity of human life from conception to death. Hence, importance of science in the progress and development of a country cannot be overstated. Advances in science and technology promote efficiency, self-reliance and the overall well-being of humanity. Even from the limited perspective of biological sciences, advances in physiology, anatomy, health sciences, agriculture, animal husbandry, environmental science, biotechnology and the like enhances the quality of every human life on the globe. Hence, scientific and technological literacy is essential for all individuals. Indian attempt to raise the standard of living of its people cannot be attained without putting the scientific understanding to solve problems in life of the masses. Equipping the young citizenry with the scientific process skills and attitudes will provide a strong foundation for the ability of nation as a whole to seek the service of science in solving present and future problems. Learning the sciences in school provide the young generation the interest and inclination toward further pursuit of scientific work. Aims of education and aims of science education. Aims of teaching biology in secondary schools are tied with aims of education in general and for the most part parallel with aims of teaching science in general. If science teaching is to be made effective, then its aims should be in consonance with the general aims of education. Good science education is true to the child, true to life and true to science. The National Focus Group on Science Education, formed in connection with National Curriculum Framework, has suggested that the question of aim of science education, as quoted by NFG, to bring in general aims of education is true education is that which draws out and stimulates the spiritual, intellectual and physical faculties of the children. Educational process in and out of school and beyond aims in developing human knowledge of life and its surrounding universe, balanced development of physical, intellectual, emotional, moral and practical sides of personality of every individual, to allow a person to enter specialized fields of employment and leisure, to raise the quality of individual and collective life, to encourage greater benevolence in the relationship between humans and the natural environment and the like. Remember, education is for the development of the individual, society, nation and humanity. Hence, now let us see the aims of education in India as a nation. The Indian Education Commission 1964-66, famously known as Kothari Commission, identified fourfold aims of education in India. Accordingly, education is 1. To increase the productivity of the individual and nation, thereby 2. Strengthening national integration, further 3. Consolidating democracy, by 4. Development of social, moral and spiritual values in citizens. The aims of secondary education put forward by the commission headed by Dr. Lakshmanaswamy Mudaliar in the first decades of independent India are relevant even today. They are 1. Creative democratic citizenship with capacity for clear thinking, receptivity to new ideas, clearness in speech and writing, art of living in a community, passion for social justice, development of tolerance, patriotism, respect for dignity and worth of individual permeated with internationalism. 2. Improvement of vocational efficiency with new attitude to work, belief in dignity of labor and technical skill and efficiency. 3. Development of personality through development of hobbies and learning of culture in varied forms. And 4. Development of leadership who can efficiently take up responsibilities in social, scientific, political, industrial and cultural fields for the nation. The aims and objectives of teaching science at different stages have been summarized in the proceedings of All India Seminar on the Teaching of Science in Secondary Schools, published by Ministry of Education in 1956. At the high and higher secondary stage, the aims of general science teaching should be: 1. To familiarize the people with the world in which he lives and to make him understand the impact of science on society so as to enable him adjust himself to his environment. 2. To acquaint him with the scientific method and to enable him to develop the scientific attitude. 3. To give the people a historical perspective so that he may understand the evolution of scientific development. National Curriculum Framework on Aims of Science Education. While setting the goals of education in general and science education in particular, present and future of the local and global society need to be considered. National Curriculum Framework 2005 provides rationale for science education. Much of this rationale is connected to the acquainting the learner with the nature and methods of science. Science education is to make science ultimately a social endeavor. Science education is to empower learner with knowledge. Science education is to create the realization that science has the potential to be beneficial or harmful, emancipative or oppressive. In a progressive, forward-looking society, science education is to play a truly liberating role, helping people out of poverty, ignorance and superstition through a science tempered with wisdom to human welfare. Science education is to nurture creativity in new ways of designing, planning and solving problems. At the secondary stage, the students should be engaged in learning science as a composite discipline and in activities and analysis on issues surrounding environment and health. Science learning should permit systematic experimentation as a tool to discover and verify theoretical principles. It is to allow working on locally significant projects involving science and technology. At the higher secondary stage, science education must see specialization as separate disciplines with emphasis on experiments, technology and problem solving. Carefully identified core topics of the discipline and recent advances should be provided with appropriate rigor and depth. Overall, NFG advocated that science curriculum is to be used as an instrument of social change to reduce the divide related to economic class, gender, caste, religion and region. That inquiry skill should be supported and strengthened by language, design and quantitative skills. That schools greater emphasis should be given on co-curricular and extracurricular elements aimed at stimulating investigative ability, inventiveness and creativity. Science is to be learned as a dynamic, expanding body of knowledge covering ever new domains of experience. Science education should help the learner to discern scientific method and its several interconnected steps, namely observation, looking for regularities and patterns, making hypotheses, devising quantitative or mathematical models, deducing their consequences, verification or falsification of theories through observation and controlled experiments, and thus arriving at the principles, theories and laws governing the physical world. According to NFG, science education should enable the learner to know the facts and principles of science and its applications, consistent with the stage of cognitive development, acquire the skills and understand the methods and processes that lead to generation and validation of scientific knowledge, develop a historical and developmental perspective of science, and to enable her to view science as a social enterprise, relate to the environment including natural environment, artifacts and people, local as well as global, and appreciate the issues at the interface of science, technology and society, acquire the requisite theoretical knowledge and practical technological skills to enter the world of work, nurture the natural curiosity, aesthetic sense and creativity in science and technology, imbibe the values of honesty, integrity, cooperation, concern for life and preservation of environment, and cultivate scientific temper, objectivity, critical thinking and freedom from fear and prejudice. Aims of teaching natural science in secondary schools. The focus of aims of teaching varies by the nature of the subject matter and the level of development of the learner. The aims and goals of education differ a bit at different stages. Capabilities of peoples, the nature of subject and the social realities should be kept in mind while setting the aims. Science curriculum up to class 10 should be oriented more towards developing awareness among the learners about the interface of science, technology and society, sensitizing them especially to the issues of environment and health, and enabling them to acquire the practical knowledge and skills to enter the world of work. It should stress not only the content of science, but more importantly the process skills of science, that is, the methods and techniques of learning science. The process skills are more enduring and hence will enable the learner to cope with the ever-changing and expanding field of science and technology. Yet, content cannot be ignored. Facts, principles, theories and their applications to understand various phenomena are at the core of science and the science curriculum, and it must obviously engage the learner with them appropriately. Teaching biology in Indian schools has to contribute to the above aims of education in general. Biology learning has to contribute to linguistic, mathematical, scientific, personal, aesthetic and physical development of the learner. It should never inhibit or even conflict with the development aims of education. Aims of biology teaching should complement other curriculum areas including other sciences, mathematics, social sciences, languages and art, physical and occasional education. Biology teaching has to relate to human needs, has to provide understanding of the use of local environment to help put biological inquiry into a social and economic context, and to relate the biology to deeper personal needs and needs of others, and in developing understanding on self in relation to the natural world. Learning of biology is aiming to increase our sensitivity, enjoyment and concern for the natural world. Learning of plants, animals and the human forms have to contribute to creative expression of human culture, art and literature. Biology teaching should be warm and sensitive in developing in the learner and empathy with the natural world. Biology teaching is to help raise the standard of living in terms of longevity of life, decreasing infant mortality rate, health index, self-sufficiency in food, agriculture practices and agricultural management. Biology learning is to bring science near to home and community, for example via raising awareness on community health centers and environmental sustainability. Concepts, principles and laws of science may now appear in the curriculum appropriately with stress on comprehension and not on mere formal definitions. Concepts that are beyond direct experience may come to occupy an important place in the science curriculum. Since not all phenomena are directly observable, science relies on inference and interpretation. For example, students have to use inference to establish the mechanism of evolution. Students should have the critical ability to evaluate facts that they encounter in science. Experimentation, often involving quantitative measurement as a tool to discover and verify theoretical principles, should be there. Since the curricular materials at senior secondary stage also cater to students who intend continuing in science as a career, and to sustain the enthusiasm of those who are prepared to handle the more challenging materials. Major goals of teaching biology in secondary schools. The aims of natural science education, like imparting knowledge, skills, attitudes and nurturing creativity, problem solving, scientific temper and building up leadership, trained manpower, can all be grouped into three categories. These three categories of objectives relates to acquiring knowledge of science, using methods of science and keeping habits, attitudes and values of science. Thus, world over, the broad objectives of teaching natural sciences include knowledge, skills and abilities, scientific attitude and habits, values of science, appreciation and interest, leisure and work in science. In this module, let us see some of them in more detail. Knowledge. One special area related to development of knowledge in science is scientific literacy. Through the study of natural science, students are to acquire the knowledge of 1. Fundamental principles and concepts useful in daily life. 2. Interdependence and relationship of different branches of natural science. 3. Plants and animals. 4. Natural phenomena going on. 5. General rules of health and human body, etc. Fully fledged scientific literacy goes well beyond the mere knowledge of scientific facts and concepts to clear understanding of them and their ever-changing nature, with not only ability but also a positive attitude and towards applying science and technology judiciously in individual and social needs. Hence, developing the knowledge, understanding, skills, attitudes and judgment in relation to science is the prime goals of science education. Skills and abilities related to methods of science. The training in the scientific method is one of the important aims of teaching science. Natural science students should acquire skills in experimentation, construction and observation skills like preserving specimens and handling, arranging, repairing scientific instruments and drawing diagrams. Science education is to develop certain abilities like the following: 1. Sensing a problem. 2. Organizing and interpreting observations. 3. Analyzing the observations. 4. Generalizing and drawing conclusion. 5. Predicting. 6. Organizing exhibitions, excursions and fairs. 7. Discussing, arguing, expressing, using scientific terminology. 8. Improving and manipulating instruments, providing for work, leisure and healthy life. Science education is to 1. Provide healthy attitudes to work and to create interest therein. 2. Impart in learners the knowledge to pursue the desired professions in the fields of science. 3. Provide direction to get a suitable vocation and prove an asset to the society. 4. Help learners to spend leisure wisely. Enable learner to adjust to own domestic, social environment and economic and cultural conditions. 6. Biology education in special is to equip ways and means of prevention and eradication of diseases to maintain good health. 7. It is to make learners to enable to ensure better nutrition, balanced diet and maintaining hygiene. 8. Education in natural science in India has the added goal of developing awareness in the learner of the importance of population control, ways to increase food production and preservation, prevention, control and eradication of diseases, improvement in livestock and agriculture practices and conservation of nature and prevention of pollution. Teaching biology for scientific attitude, interests and values. Desirable habits like honesty, truth, tolerance, self-confidence, self-reliance etc. should be inculcated through the science teaching. Teaching biology is to inculcate these scientific attitudes among the students. This means that biology is to make the learner 1. Critical in observation and thought. 2. Open-minded. 3. Respectful of others' viewpoint. 4. Ready to discuss problems with others and accept what appears correct. 5. Search answers to what's, whys and hows of things one observes and accept the natural things as such. 6. Objective in his approach to problems. 7. Not a believer of superstitions and misbeliefs. 8. Follower of cause and effect relationship. 9. Truthful in his experimentation and conclusions. 10. Impartial and unbiased in judgments. 11. Adopt planned procedure in solving a problem. Valuing and appreciating nature. Teaching biology in school should enable the learner to 1. Develop the spirit of curiosity, creativity and critical thinking, especially in relation to nature and its elements. 2. Develop skills, habits of mind and attitudes necessary for scientific inquiry of the living world and its environment. 3. Develop the spirit of curiosity for investigating and understanding their environment. 4. Communicate scientific ideas effectively. 5. Use scientific concepts for explaining their own lives and the world around them. 6. Live a healthy quality life. 7. Treat all resources of the world with a humane and responsible attitude. 8. Show concern and understanding of the interdependence of all living things and for the earth on which they live. 9. Design activities for exploring and applying scientific ideas and concepts. Biology teaching is to develop in the learner an aesthetic appreciation of the natural world, leading to a more responsible and caring attitude to their environment. The appreciation of natural beauty, scientific inventions, scientists and their endeavors is the outcome of science teaching. Interest in biology. The teaching of science should also aim at developing some interest in reading scientific literature, in scientific hobbies, in activities of clubs, excursions, in natural phenomena, in drawing and in leadership to biology related pursuits. Biology especially is useful in developing interest in hobbies and works related to gardening, horticulture, agriculture, study of plants and animals, apiculture, aquaculture, sericulture, forestry, tending pets, bird watching, forestation, etc. The motivational techniques like rewards and punishments, praise and blame, rivalry and emulation, etc. should be implied by the teacher. Now let us summarize what we have discussed so far. The aims of teaching biology in secondary schools are in harmony with the aims of education. Focus on different aims of education vary with the nature of subject, for example, whether physical science, biological science or social science, though all of them are directed towards some common goals. Focal aims of teaching vary by stage of schooling and the level of national and social development too. Within a nation, aims of teaching evolve over time. For example, from the period of independence to the present, the aims of education have evolved in India. Nevertheless, there are some common threads in the aims of teaching natural sciences during the past 1 century in countries across the globe. Such accepted aims of teaching natural sciences are development of scientific knowledge and literacy, training in methods and processes of science, inculcation of scientific attitude, appreciation of interrelation among life and natural environment, development of interest in allied work and leisure activities, and harmonious adjustment to environment. From this session, there are few assignments you have to work out. 1. Discuss with your peer student teachers in physical sciences and make a comparison of aims of teaching natural science and aims of teaching physical science. 2. Make a summary chart of the major aims of teaching biology in secondary schools. 3. Develop a list of hobbies and works related to biological sciences, development of which you can incorporate as goals of teaching biology in secondary schools. Now I suggest resources for further references. Impact Science Teaching by Vaidya N, published by Oxford and IBH Publishing Company in 1971. Science Teaching for the 21st Century, authored by Vaidya N and published by Deep and Deep Publications in 2002. Teaching of Biological Sciences, authored by Ahmad J and published by PHI Learning Pvt Limited in 2011. The Teaching and Learning of Biology in the United States, authored by Anderson OR in 1989, available at eric.ed.gov. Thank you for watching this session. Let us meet in another session with a new topic. Till then, bye.